Hey everybody, no more excuses. We're going to talk about something that a lot of you all don't want to talk about, but it's time to get a will, a trust, an estate plan, healthcare surrogate, living will, all the things. We talking about it, and we're going to bust through those excuses that you have for not doing it. Hi, I'm Lynn.
Hello, I'm Jice.
And welcome to our channel,
Gen X Quits,
where we're talking about all things related to Gen X. Follow us on our adventures of travel, aging, these pre-retirement years, and other topics that are relevant to people over 40, 50, and beyond. So if you are enjoying this video, enjoy the previous videos, please like, please subscribe, and comment below to join in and on the conversation. Now, today we're going to be talking about a kind of delicate subject, and that is getting a will, doing your estate plan, and all things related to end of life. And we're going to go and bust through some of those excuses that we know you have. Jice and I, we got our first will when we were in our early 30s.
Around 32 or so.
Yep. Right. And we just went through the process and overhauled everything about a year or so ago.
Yep.
And so we just want to share some of the reasons and the excuses, because that's what they really are, that people have for putting it off, for not doing the will. And the first one, and probably the key on everybody's list, top of everybody's list, is they just don't like discussing death. No one wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to think about it. But let me let you in on a secret. It's going to happen to all of us.
Definitely.
Yeah, we're not here forever. And, the thing about discussing it and talking about it and thinking about it, it doesn't accelerate the process. This isn't a manifestation thing that if I talk about it, it's going to happen faster. No, what we really found is by talking about it, one, it gives you clarity about, what are the wishes. It puts into like a frame of reference as far as like all these things that I'm working for. What do I want to happen as I pass, as I transition? And also it gave us the opportunity to share with each other. Having that discussion, if you don't really want to talk about it with your whole entire family, at least your spouse, your significant other, a loved one, your children, someone needs to know what you want. So it's also that we don't like talking about it, but you know what? Actually, when we went through the process of what is our death plan, what do we want to happen, it actually has given us more of a renewed sense of today and life and how we want to live. Because when you think about the end, you kind of think about all I have is between today and that end date that we don't know. So in a certain way, by discussing death, makes you appreciate the life that you have even more. And that's part of the reason why we have this channel, is to encourage everybody to live today, to go after it, to pursue the dreams, to have the adventures, and to live every day and maximize the time that we do have. So if you don't like discussing it, yeah, it's a reality. Get over it. It actually is not as bad as you think.
Yeah, and you may need to ease into it too. It may be multiple conversations to kind of wrap your brain around it, death and what you want and your desire. So it's an iterative process. Right. So it may take you, after the first conversation, another 6 months. So don't think, I'm going to have this conversation and it's magically done. No, you're going to have to think about this and really put some thought behind it. It may take some time, so give yourself some grace.
Right.
If you first day you don't want to do it, okay, wait a week, try it again. Those sorts of things. So, in terms of number 2, why you need to get a will today, and again over time, is people think it's not my problem. I'll let my family members or others worry about it. Why would you want to put somebody through all that pain and agony of, I don't know what they wanted. I don't know if they want to be cremated. I don't know who should get this or get that. You have the power. Don't give up that power. I'm a planner by nature, and I was the one that really pushed the issue when we were young and we didn't have a lot of assets, but I did not want our relatives, our parents, if in the unenviable day, if we had died early in life, I didn't want them to have to go through that with us. Like, let's make it easy. We'll figure out where we want our few assets that we had at the time to go, And the goal was eventually we would have assets. So we wanted to plan for where those would go. So don't say it's not my problem. I'm going to let them worry about it. They're going to be so busy going through grief, hopefully, that they will, you don't want to put that extra stressor on them. But death is stressful enough as it is. So make it easy for them. Do yourself a favor, get a will, get a health surrogate, etc.
Yeah, and I mean that whole "not my problem, I'll be dead." There still is something and somebody, and if you don't want to make the decision, there has to be someone that you can leave things to. There has to be a cause, a nonprofit, your alma mater, an organization. It's kind of that thing that sometimes people just don't want to make the decision of who gets it, or you might be in a situation where you don't want anybody of your loved ones or your family to have your stuff. Still make that decision of what is that cause, that nonprofit. Something can get your items once you pass. And if it's not 100%, then devote X dollars or some amount, but make some kind of decision, give some kind of inclination of what you want your items and your assets and the things that you have worked so hard for to go to. And that leads into a third excuse that people have, is that I don't have enough money, I don't have enough assets to matter. And I think from the standpoint that whatever you do have, it does matter. You worked for it, and yes, maybe you don't own a home outright. Maybe you feel like your bank account is not large enough, but you probably have insurance. You probably do have some money in the bank, and
or
even
insurance through your employer.
Insurance through your employer, which yes, there may be some beneficiaries, but there still is things that you have enough assets that it matters. There is some college student that will take $250 to buy a book, that type of thing. And whatever your car, right? Whatever it is that you do that you might have, you're exactly a car that somebody can sell, that you can leave. It's no amount is really too small. And really from the standpoint that your will, your trust, all these things are a moment in time. So even if you feel like you don't have enough assets today, by indicating that I want the money in my bank account to go here, I want the house, the equity that I have in my house to go here, it will grow over time likely. So even if you don't have it today, you are planning for tomorrow. And that's what Jice and I talked about, even in our early 30s, where we didn't have what we have today. 20 something years later, we still identified where we wanted our, assets and our estate to go. So, whatever you have, it's enough. It is what you worked for. It is the imprint that you are leaving. Have some say so in where that is going.
Next, reason number 4, and I hear this all the time. I've got time. I'm young. I don't need to worry about this. That is a huge fallacy. Think about this, random acts of violence that occur today. During COVID, people were dying left and right. I mean, there are so many things that can take you out. So tomorrow's not promised. Right. So do yourself a favor, be thinking about this, put pen to paper. There are a lot of different programs you can use, off the shelf, just a word processor. Just start writing out your things. So, and I'll pass it to Lynn for the next one.
Okay. So it's the whole thing, going back to what Jice was saying, is really about procrastinating. Yes. And that's how January turns into December, 1 year turns into 5 years. And this is one of those things that, you really, you feel like you have time. And yes, there may not necessarily be a sense of urgency, but it is one of those things that put it on your list. This year, before the year ends, I'm going to do it. Or in the next 6 months, I'm going to make a plan to do it. Because it is an iterative process. And that is one of the fifth excuses, is that people don't know the process. They don't know where to start. It is overwhelming. It can be overwhelming, but really it is as simple as Jice says, is like in your phone and your notes app, as far as like, okay, what do I have? Who do I want my stuff to go to? I've got some jewelry. Who do I want to leave that to? I've got a car. Who do I want to leave that? If you're a member of a sorority and fraternity, who's a frat brother or a sorority sister that gets your items? Just start making a list. And that's the first thing that you can do, is just kind of sketch it out. How do I want, when I pass away, do I want to donate my body? Do I want to be buried? Do I want to be cremated? Where do I want to be my final resting place? All of those kind of things are just kind of like a checklist of questions that probably a quick Google search can get you as far as resources. And then really from the standpoint of the process, there are people that you don't know an estate planning attorney, you don't know all of the legal aspects to it. There are templates online. We are not legal, we are not attorneys. This is not necessarily legal advice, but the internet is a wealth of information from the standpoint of templates that can get you started. You can write your items down, probably even get it notarized, and that will hold up at least as something. But the process, and then just YouTube videos. You're on here watching us, watch videos on what's the process for estate planning and how do I start. And so just start, ask other people who have gone through the process. They can tell you who is the attorney that they used. Find somebody local. Most attorneys, I think, do a free consultation. Ours did. That gets the process started. And in 20, 30 minutes, you can have a wealth of information, whether through the internet, talking to a professional, or talking to someone who has gone through the process to get started. But the key thing is start educating yourself, arming yourself with the information, and get started today.
And to your point, we got a referral for our will here in North Carolina. I asked a fraternity brother, hey, who'd you ask to do your will? Gave us a great attorney. And I'll go into our next reason. People think, oh, it costs too much. It's cost prohibitive. I can't do this. And our attorney was reasonable. I think for the assets we had, for the two people, et cetera, she was very thorough. But in terms of cost, if you work for a company, they have prepaid legal services, things like that. You can use. Some attorneys do pro bono. So find an estate attorney. I would say reasonable cost. And again, we're not legal experts, so I'm putting that disclaimer out there. But I would guesstimate between $300 to maybe a couple of $2,000, somewhere in that time.
Yeah,
in that
I'd
frame,
say probably
cost estimate.
Probably $1,000 to $3,000.
Yeah.
I think we ended up paying maybe around $2,500 to get all of our work. And what we ended up with is a will, a trust. Yep. Healthcare, surrogates as far as who's making a living will as far as that directive, and power of attorney documents.
Right.
So it's not necessarily just one document that you get. It is, and it's not necessarily all about death as far as like the living will. If you go into a hospital, that's like one of the first questions they ask is like, what are your directives? Who's going to make decisions on behalf of you if you can't? So there's a lot of things that don't necessarily are just like end of life when I'm, 95 years old. There are documents that are necessary. Even if you go into the hospital for a routine procedure, they're going to ask you as far as like, what is your plan? What, do you have a living will? So it's usually when we talk about getting a will, it's broader than that. And it's the whole estate plan, and you're walking away with several documents, and that that goes into the cost. But I think when you talk about whatever the cost, if it is several $1,000s, if you really think about the totality of your estate and your assets and your home and your equity and your bank account and your investments, it still is just a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we've given you a nudge, some encouragement,
do it.
Yeah, a little tough love as far as to go down the process, because really the reality is less than half of U.S. adults have a will. And, if you're over 40, if you're over 50,
what are you waiting on?
What are you waiting on? The inevitable is going to happen, but protect what you're working so hard for in this life, and, be able to divide it up and have some control over where it goes. So,
and I'd be curious to know if you do have a will and estate plan, let us know in the comments below. And if you think this video will help anyone, share it.
Right.
We'd really appreciate it.
Yep. So until the next time, it's Lynn.
It's Jace.
And we're Gen X Clinch signing off.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.